tonight's podcast episode, I have my good friend. Okay. Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. With me tonight, I have my good friend Tomeka with me. So hello to everybody.
Hey, so
And tonight, we're actually doing a review for Evolution of Hip Hop. This is actually on Netflix. But before we get into that, as everybody knows, rapper, actor DMX passed away yesterday. And wasn't it with heart problems, upper respiratory problems, or what did he pass away from?
yeah, they said a heart attack, but I
Right,
think it was just everything with like drugs and everything else. It just finally caught up to him.
right. And one thing about that though is DMX has always been the type of rapper that always admits to his struggles, even in his music. Because in the songs "Pray" and the prayer skit that he always does on each album, he's praying to God. He's talking about his struggles with certain things, with addiction, with his demons, with the devil, everything else. That's something that I really appreciated from DMX was the fact that he was a hard edge rapper, but at the same time, he was also dealing with a lot of demons that he was battling. And he also owns up to the fact that he was dealing with a lot of demons inside of him and stuff like that. That's something I really admired about him was the fact that he admitted and owned it and everything. And then also too, the very first time that I heard a DMX song was this in the summer of 2001, I believe,
Mm.
when Party Up first came up to the scene. And that song was one of my favorite songs that I remember just listening to it on MTV back when they used to play music videos. and and it was like on TRL and
Mhm.
wherever you can get your hands on the music video and everything, it was always being played. And I really loved DMX. I really loved his beats. He was rough, he was raw, he was edge. He was
Mhm.
straight up edge. And another thing though too that I want to actually mention is the fact that, you know, this song was actually played on Gone in 60 Seconds. With that, where Nicolas Cage and them, or when they're getting ready to steal the Hummer,
Mhm.
and that song "Party Up" was actually on there. Then, of course, you can't forget "X is Gonna Give It to You." That's also another one I liked. Then, of course, "Who We Be," which is
Yeah.
actually part of that song was actually remixed for Creed 2 with Michael B.
Oh,
Jordan. They did a
really?
remix version of that, and I love the remix version of it as well. And
What's my name? What's
yeah,
my name?
name.
DMX.
X.
Like, oh, I know his name now. Ride or die. Like, okay. It's my DMX impression.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, I can't do it too much because then my throat will hurt.
right. But who we
Yeah,
be,
I
Rough
remember him.
Riders. Yeah,
Yeah, sorry. No, I remember from high school. I think the first time I heard him, I was like, "Who is this?" And it just sounds so rough and in your face. And I was like,
hmm
"Is he barking?" And then, like, I remember the video, and there was a lot of pit bulls, and I was like, "Oh, this guy seems dangerous." But then, like, I'm into the lyrics because they're so hard. And then you had Rough Riders, and I think I like Rough Riders and DMX more because they included Eve. And then you saw the introduction of Eve, and then you're like, whoa, she can hang with these guys like Rough Riders. So yeah, I appreciate DMX and Rough Riders for that too, introducing us to Eve.
definitely. Because to me, I think Eve needed to stick out, and what better way to stick out than to have DMX, who's actually a MC who was actually in your face and
Hmm.
was real about what he was rapping about.
Yeah.
Too. As a matter of fact, that song that I mentioned about "Who We Be" was actually part of the Great Depression album that came out back
Mm.
in 2001, I believe.
Oh yeah.
And you know, that's that was actually the very first album that I owned by DMX was that album. And I remember how raw it was. I remember how in your face it was. I
Yeah.
remember how blunt he was. He
Hmm.
was out there to prove a point. He was out there. He was there for the black community and everything. And also, too, to set a point about racism. He was about that. He was about so many other different levels in his music
Yeah.
and everything. And like anything that he rapped about, he saw and did because it was in his neighborhood. And that was something that I feel like is missing in today's music and stuff like that is the fact that we have hip hop, we have some good artists and stuff like that, but we don't have the in your face kind of artist and stuff like that like we had back then. Like, for instance, we don't have anybody like NWA anymore. We don't have anyone like Tupac. We don't have anyone like Biggie that sticks out anymore to where they're out there to prove something and to write about something that's honest and true. And DMX did all that.
Yeah.
He did a lot in his career and everything. And matter of fact, I like this other song where he's actually just rapping and praying about God.
Mm-hmm.
Having I need a hug, or not having I need a hug, but it was something around that area and everything too. I forgot the name of it, but that was another one of those songs that I would always share on my Facebook feed because of the fact that I really loved his lyrics and everything too. But what else did you like about DMX though?
Like you said, John, he was just really raw, and it just seemed very organic. Just like from that style of like Tupac and other artists we'll talk about in a few minutes. Just coming from it, like, this is my atmosphere. This is where I came from. These are my struggles. This is my pain. Feel my pain. Just yeah, it just made you want to give DMX a hug.
Yep. Speaking of hug, that name of the song that he came out with, the one I was talking about, was "Lord, Give Me a Sign."
Speaking of hug, okay,
because he wanted God to hug him. He wanted him to embrace him and everything, and help him with his battles and struggles and everything, and with the demons. So that song, is something that I really appreciated from him and everything. But anyways, going ahead, tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, just I don't know. It's just like when I was in high school and I would just get so angry and I'm like, oh, well, I put all these emotions. I'm a teenager, and I would listen to rock, but I also listen to rap too. And DMX was one of those rappers I could just emote through, because he would just be like rough and raw and just get it out in your face, like, I'm in pain. I'm like, me too. But yeah, just seeing him act too, and I was like, wow, this guy can act. He reminded me of Tupac actually.
Yep.
It was like a Tupac reincarnated type of thing for me. I think that's why I drew to DMX too. But yeah, just always hearing about his struggles, and I would be like, oh man, he doing this again. And I don't have an addiction, so I don't know.
Right.
But I was like, man, I hope he get it together soon. And everybody wanted that too, because it's like you hold out hope. You like, come on, X, you can do this. You can do this. Let's do this. Let's get together. Get us another album. Let's do this. Come on. Like, you were just always rooting for DMX.
Exactly.
And when he didn't make it, I was like, oh, I felt the same way. Like just grief and loss, like I did when I found out Tupac died. I was like, man, he had so much ahead of him, and DMX did too. And the last time I saw DMX was on because I watched Wendy Williams' show, and he did an interview with her like a couple months ago, and he was just talking about how he was getting his life together and just trying to be a better father for his kids. And he got all these projects going on and his movie. Yeah, I forgot the name of the movie, but he did a movie. It's probably on Amazon Prime, but I have to figure it out what it is. But yeah, he was just talking about just the road ahead of him, and he's excited, and I was excited. I was like, all right, DMX is back, and then just when I heard he died, I was like, oh man, I really thought he was going to make it, because he made it the other times. So when somebody goes through a struggle like that, you think, well, surely they can make it. They seem invincible,
Right.
And I always have that expectation, like with Robert Downey Jr., like all the drug struggles he went through. And I'm like, surely X can make it as well because Robert made it. So I don't know.
Well, it's just like when uh, Tupac got killed, and
Yeah,
Biggie was saying, "Well, Pac is going to go on ahead. He's going to get shot, and then he's going to go back in the studio and write about it.
yeah,
He's going to be okay." Then the realization of the fact that Pac is not okay. He's not
mm,
coming back from this. It's the same realization with DMX in a
yeah,
sense. We all root for him because I know I did. I was always rooting for another album, another comeback. Here's the thing: when artists or actresses are battling with something with their own demons, I'm always rooting for them to have a comeback
hmm,
and everything. I'm not the type of person that shames somebody for addictions because I actually had somebody in my family that had addictions.
oh yeah,
So for me to do that, I'll be very hypocritical towards myself if I wound up judging somebody for their addictions. You
yeah,
know, so I was actually hoping, I was rooting for him. I wanted to come back. I wanted to actually see DMX say, "Get at me, come on, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to go on ahead." It's been years since I've done another album. I'm ready to go on ahead. Let's do some beef wars. Let's go on ahead, do something to where I can get my recognition back because I have a
yeah,
lot to say. But sadly, this happened, and now we just have his legacy and everything because I feel like he did a lot further than what Tupac managed to do. But
yeah.
man, imagine if Tupac and him, I could just see them collaborating because they're two
Man,
real artists. To be
that
honest with you,
album would be fire. I
exactly.
Whoa. And I guess is it a couple months ago or earlier this year or last year he did verses. It's like this versus battle with Snoop. So him
Yeah,
and
I
Snoop
remember
did
that,
like a versus battle.
like a freestyle kind of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then on Snoop's Instagram he posted like, DMX led them in prayer, like before the
Wow,
versus battle, and then they was like, let's do this. So yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, Beyond the Law with Steven Seagal, that was one of the ones that DMX did.
Oh no, are you serious?
Yeah, he actually did one with Steven Seagal,
Oh,
but
God.
Unchained would actually
Yeah,
have to be another one that I really liked with him in it.
yeah.
Uh, that was a good one. Exit Wounds,
Hmm.
Romeo Must Die.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Those were the standouts for me.
Hmm.
Where, yeah, it's not like Oscar worthy stuff, but it was good stuff. It was good
Yeah,
stuff that he acted in and
yeah,
everything. And Unchained, I want to say, also had Tom Arnold in it and a couple of other actors that actually helped balance him out a little bit with some of the struggles that he had with his acting and stuff like that. But it was really good.
I was
Exit
trying
Wounds,
to look
first
up
on
that
Steven Seagal's
DMX
career.
movie. Sorry,
What's that?
I'm trying to look up that last DMX movie. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, Cradle to the Grave is the name of the movie. My bad. Yeah, Cradle to the Grave with Jet Li was the one I was talking about, not Unchained. Unchained is a total different movie. Um, but yeah, Exit Wounds was pretty good, but Cradle to the Grave with Jet Li is the standout for me as far as DMX goes and stuff like that. I thought it was an excellent combo between that. Cradle to the Grave is definitely a great movie as well, to be honest with you. But yeah, those are the movies that I have to say that is really good for DMX and everything. Um, what did you find out?
yeah. I still can't find it, but I know he did a movie, but yeah, I will probably
Okay,
get back to everybody on that.
okay. So let's go on ahead now that we did our little tribute to him and everything, and DMX. I'm actually happy at everything that you gave us over the years. Your discography is just awesome.
Hmm.
So if anybody who hasn't heard of DMX or is looking to get into the rap game or whatever and want to take it seriously, go on ahead and listen to some DMX's stuff. I'm sure that you can find some inspiration in some of his songs and
Yeah,
his material.
yeah.
But with that being said, let's go into season 1 of Evolution of Hip Hop.
All right.
So here's the thing. I love Evolution of Hip Hop. This reminds me of watching VH1 behind the music kind of thing with these documentaries, and I'm just eating it up because it's like me revisiting stuff that I learned from my high school days. I'm just sitting on the couch watching this, but there's more in depth to it. There's more stuff to actually talk about instead of like a 30-minute or an hour show. You're actually getting about a 4 hour show in a four episode setting, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Um, Here's the thing though, I love the mixtapes. I love the whole entire deal where how mixtapes were formed, how hard it was actually to get yourself noticed, and people were just going on ahead buying mixtapes, trying to get anything that they can
Mm-hmm.
be off the streets of New York and everything, and trying to get themselves known. And the drive that they would go through just to go ahead and get themselves known was just fantastic, and it's also inspirational. You know, that's something that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that that was something that I have to say that I enjoyed about the first episode. But there's plenty more stuff that we can actually dive into. What else would you say is
I so I think this came out in, I want to say 2018. And I just happened to check it out and I was like, what is this? And then I think 2020 was his last season so far. But hopefully they'll come back. Um but yeah, I like each season. There's 4 seasons. So with each season I like how they take from basically the evolution of hip hop. Like you start with the foundation of hip hop, which was in the Bronx, and I like the background of culture that they had at the time. Like in the 70s in New York, it was disco, and that's all
yep,
it was, which is disco. And I think one of the rappers feature was giving some background information. Like everybody thought in New York, that people in New York were rich and they danced and they partied and they snorted cocaine and it was disco. But he was like, in the Bronx, you didn't see that part where there was poverty and lots of fires, which I was trying to figure out why there were so many fires, but okay. And he said it was like Beirut. It's like a war zone, like just
hmm,
crime, poverty, fires, and just like hell all around. And I guess from this, there was a local DJ named DJ Cool Herc, and he created the first hip hop party. So, with hip hop not being coming into form yet on record, he would play like James Brown and soul funk music, and then kind of play the break in between, like just the drum solos and everything else on the 2 turntables.
right,
He would play this at parties. And I think the first party they mentioned was, I want to say August 11, 1973, in one of the housing projects in the Bronx. And they go into just interviewing him because he was still alive at the time. I think he still is. They just go into interviewing him and what his thought process was to come up with it. And he was like, there was nothing out there. It was just disco, and he wanted to play against that, and he wanted to get out of the kids, I guess, to dance and party and have fun. But everything kind of is like uh I don't know why I have to say evolution. That's how everything was, because the people at his parties were hip hop pioneers like Melly Mel and Curtis Blow, I think, was at his party.
right.
And
I think Common though too. Am I wrong or am I right about that?
mm,
Or was that with
I
somebody
don't,
else?
yeah, I don't think Common was there, but
No.
it was someone else. They were there, and they would get inspired by the beats and everything else he was playing and the atmosphere. And then from there, it turned into these artists. Um, Africa Bambaataa was the other one. So it
Okay.
it went from just we learn about Cool Herc and the block parties, and then him just inspiring other DJs, and then it goes into Africa Bambaataa and how he inspired him to just do music, because Africa Bambaataa was a kind of like a local DJ first. He before he made records. Um, the funny part for me when they interviewed African Bambaataa was that like all the love he got from the neighborhood, he'll just have random people like, "Yo, Africa, what's up?" And that one
Right.
guy that kind of got on my nerves when they were like trying to get deep into, how Africa came into being and all this other stuff. This guy was on his phone, like, "Yo, I gotta come in here and I gotta say African Band Bond, great, da, 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 da. And I'm there, and I was like, can we like edit? Can we security? And I was like, I'm trying to get into African Band Bond story, just taken away, and then he came back, John. He came back. He's like, "Oh, I love you, man. One
He
love."
was like, if you think about it, he's like the DJ Khaled of that time period. This is DJ Khaled. He does not add anything to anything at
I
all.
am
This is what
like,
he reminded
who
me of, to be honest with you.
the hell is this guy interrupting our interview with Africa Bambaataa? Okay,
Right.
because the interviewer was, I guess he's like an underground rapper. I
Yeah.
think his name was Shadrack. I don't know. It's something funky. But yeah, so anyway, long story short, from for that part, I just appreciated the foundation, like how everything forms for something. Like first Cool Herc, right? And then from Cool Herc, you got Africa Bambaataa, and then it kind of shifted back to Melly Mel, who is part of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious
Yep.
Five. And then Curtis Blow, just everybody who was at that party who kind of made it that we know of, they were just talking about how they were inspired by Cool Herc. And it seems like Cool Herc was kind of mentioned more like throughout this series, just like you could see that influence that he had.
Most definitely. And, I have to agree with you, though, too. That one guy was just getting on my nerves,
You
just
get on.
interrupting him.
Wow.
I'm like, I wish he would just go away and go somewhere
Yeah.
because he didn't add anything to that at all.
No.
But, I definitely have to say this, like, the influences of the disco era is what generated hip hop, though, too, to go even further.
Mhm.
Because if you remember, I think that if I'm correct, if I'm not, tell me,
Okay.
but it wasn't that when the DJ was actually running the disco stuff backwards, like the beats backwards to make it work and let it flow a lot better instead of it being just another disco track and playing the drums set differently.
I think so. I know that they were talking about, and this is what I like about the documentary too. Like, yeah, there's a cultural significance, and they give you the background, but they go into like how b-boys started and breakdancing, and just how they found a beat and whatever else. Like
Right.
it just dissects everything. But yeah, I think from what I remember, they were talking about when the record plays, there's a break. Like
Yep.
you have just the drums and everything else before the singer sings again, and they would just use that. Just kind of like it's some kind of way they kind of turned it where on the turntables where they would just focus on the break, just that part in general, not the artist or anything, just the
Right.
instrumental and the break of the music. Um, I know that's what Kool Herc did, and I think a couple others did too. And yeah, they use disco records and just the soul music, and I was just amazed at all the records they used that they could just turn into something else. Like African Bambaataa was talking about when he was invited to the, I always get this mixed up. I think it's the downtown parties where there's the artsy,
Yeah, it's the downtown parties
okay,
that
white
he got that they would get.
people. Yeah,
Yeah.
artsy white people and the punk rockers. He would
Yep.
play like music that he couldn't play in the hood, like Elvis Presley and B-52s. And I'm like, how do you make that like hip hop? Like, how do you like in my mind? I'm like, this is just amazing to me that he
It's really amazing how these
yeah.
DJs' minds flow. Because here's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Because if I went and said, okay, let me go into this rock world and see what I can find from that world, and
Mhm.
then let me go on ahead and put a little bit of a swing on the disco era and put them together and see how they clash and everything, and then mix it together and have the beats and stuff like that to it. My mind would, to be honest with you, I can't. My mind is still mind-boggling over it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because my brain cannot comprehend stuff like that. It goes to show you how much talent that these rappers, these DJs actually have, and how much of an influence DJs actually have over other rappers. How much of an influence they have, because they're actually the ones who makes them sound good,
Yeah.
depending on the beats that they choose and
Yeah.
everything. Don't get me wrong, you can have good lyrics on paper, but if your beat is not good, your whole entire thing is going to fall flat. Your whole
Yeah.
entire bars are not going to end up being meaningless. I've
Oh,
actually listened to rap albums where the the lyrics flow good, but the beat is off center to the point where it takes me out of the song. I'm
yeah.
like, nah, I can't do this. And as a matter of fact, I even did this about. I remember I sat the album down. I'm like, okay, I'll come back to this later if I want to. Then 5 years later, I came back to the album again because people's taste changes over
Yeah.
the years. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll give this thing another chance. Nope, still the same thing. I can't do it. This album is not for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. DJs to me, they seem like the heartbeat of any album. Like if the beats are off, then I don't care how good the lyrics are. It's just it's not gonna work for me, because
same.
that's the first thing people hear, unless you can do like acapella type rap, and then your lyrics are so good you don't even need the beat, which you can do, but I need a beat. Like LL Cool J said, I
Right.
need a beat. uh,
But let's go on and talk about this though too. Now the whole East Coast West Coast thing, and this is something that I found interesting because it's like the mafia if you think about it. Like one side can't stand the other side because the other side is thinking that they're better than the other side on both levels. It's egos basically,
mhm.
and everything. Instead of saying, "Hey, look, I'm from the same game that you are. I'm spitting the same thing. We just come from different backgrounds." And we're using different types of beats. And here's the thing: the beats in New York are more heavier and everything. It's more in your face than West Coast beats. That's just my. Especially if you look at Brooklyn, Brooklyn beats are like right in your face, especially especially other places in New York City and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So with West Coast beats, they're more of your chill kind of music, if you
Mhm.
think about it, because look at how everything flows with Snoop Dogg, and look at the everybody sipping on gin and juice.
Mhm.
That beat just flows smoothly coming out of Snoop Dogg, and there's a difference between those two. Um, those two coasts between West Coast, the West Side and the East Side part of it, and then of course this whole entire thing with Biggie and Tupac though too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to understand those different beats too, you have to go back to just how hip hop was forming back then too. Like when the East Coast, because the East Coast was first, right? So
Right.
everybody knows that hip hop originated in the Bronx, or if you're in the New York, you're probably like, no, it's blah blah blah, whatever. So you have all that gritty beats because they were kind of innovative. Like Grandmaster Flash,
Hmm.
he was talking about how he broke the rules with vinyl. And I have a vinyl player, so I was always taught don't touch the record. And Grandmaster Flash touched the record, and he found out he can control the sound better to do the DJing. Like they came up with innovative ways.
Right.
Going to the West Coast, there was techno music was still there, like techno, disco, Prince. all the other stuff was still dominant. While New York was kind of coming into what hip hop is. They were kind of coming out of that disco era, and it seemed like the West Coast was kind of behind a little bit. So it, I don't know how far you
Mhm.
got, but I
Well,
just found it funny that they were describing the scene like, why we got to be angry, we 30 minutes from the beach, like,
right.
well, we got to be
We live in
angry.
Malibu. What do we have to be
Yeah, why are we
mad about?
angry? What are you angry about? And their perception of New York, like, why they so angry? They need some sun and some beach,
Right. They
some
just say
techno
chill.
beats. And then like you saw Compton, the Compton movie, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw Straight Outta
So they
Compton.
talked a little bit about that. Just Dr. Dre and the other guys. I forgot their name
Easy.
already. Yeah,
Yeah.
you before Easy. It was like Dr. Dre and two other guys. And they were talking about how they just talked about parties and women because they wanted to get laid, right?
Right.
So it was just like this techno beat, and then they were dressed up, and you see Dr. Dre in like this silk doctor's uniform. It was like purple, and he was just like, DJing and singing, and it was like, uh, uh, just stuff like that. And Ice T was talking about it too, like, just that whole era was really laid back.
Right.
So it shows in the music as well, because that's where it came from. It just came from like a laid back era, like a Prince party type thing. And plus, they were by the beach, like they said. What we got
Right.
to be angry for?
Exactly. But although if you come from like the crew from NWA comes from like where Ice Cube comes from,
Yeah.
you have every right to be mad because he
Oh,
came
yeah.
from like the rough edges of Cali
Yes,
and everything.
exactly. The rough edges, like not those edges the other people were talking about by the beach, like
Right.
Compton. They weren't
Right.
that close to the beach. All they
No.
saw was poverty and everything else.
They were pretty much like New York if you think about it.
Yes,
They were similar
exactly.
to each other if you
Yes.
actually think about it.
Mhm.
When you yeah, they're two different states,
Yes.
two different towns, but they both have similarities to each other. To where you actually have the Bronx, which is actually the bad side of New York, I believe,
Mhm.
and stuff like that, and Queens and all that other stuff. So you have that neighborhood. So therefore, they actually have. If people would actually listen to stuff from Compton, they can actually probably say, "Hey, look, I understand what they're rapping about because that's actually what I'm rapping about." But no, instead they go on ahead and make out a record about Tupac and everything because they didn't like how what they were doing. They didn't like that they were how the West Coast was doing things because it wasn't like as in your face as compared to them. Because they were talking about baseball bats, killing someone, being real gangster and
Yeah.
everything. And that's something else though too. That even with Suge Knight and everything, he would not allow anybody in Death Row Records unless you're like a straight up gangster
Mhm.
and not pretend. And here's the thing: I can actually respect Suge on that though, in a sense, because of the fact that you can actually tell. Hold on, I'm gonna get to this in a minute. I'm making my point. I'm making my point. All right, but it's the fact is this: if you're gonna say that you pulled a gun out on somebody, this Ja Rule is a perfect example of this. I'm using Ja as a
Okay. All right.
because here's the thing: if you go on ahead and say you pulled out a gun on somebody, and then they find out later on that that person went to private school, and everything, that makes you a liar. Not only that, but in your songs, though, too, people can tell as an audience, someone that's listening to your music can tell somebody that you're not being 100% honest and you're not. All you care about is trying to make yourself known and being publicly known as someone that you're not, and you're a fake. So that's what Ja Rule did, and Ja's career went down the tubes after 50 and Eminem got done with him and everything, which was the song Wingsta. That's where Wingsta
Oh
comes
my
from
gosh, man.
and everything because Ja Rule went to private school. He didn't go to and here he is saying that he went to, and so therefore that goes back to Suge and everything. He would not allow anybody into the whole entire thing because if you weren't 100% on what you were saying, you don't belong with them. You're trying to act like you're gangster, but you're not really gangster. That's like being a gangster on a keyboard on the internet, saying that, oh, I'm a gangster. I'm gonna, and talking a bunch of smack. And then when you get to that person, you're not. You're just quiet as a church mouse. So therefore, you're not really proving anything but ignorance.
Yeah, yeah, that seems to be the whole theme of another overarching. There's so many themes in this documentary. You could write like 100 papers, but you could.
That's true.
I
if
mean,
I was a major in music, I would definitely be like, okay, every single day would be a new report.
In some colleges, they do have like hip hop studies,
right.
and like Kennesaw State, I think they formulated a hip hop studies class, which is pretty awesome. But anyway, yeah, that's the theme of all this is like be true and real with your experiences. And like I'll bounce back and forth. But I know so we were talking about rap coming into being and it wasn't hitting vinyl yet. And there were music groups that came out, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and then you had Cold Crush Brothers and the Fantastic Five, and they would just do rap battles. And they were talking about there were all these talented rappers back in like the late 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
But nobody was on wax yet, and or some didn't even want to be on wax because to them the art form was all that mattered. And the first, I guess, hip hop group that came into being was Sugar Hill Gang with Rapper's Delight, which everybody knows the lyrics to. And going back to your point with being real, Big Bank Hank, or something like that, he stole some lyrics from other rappers who were who didn't go into wax. He just kind of took from their lyrics, and he took from I think it's Grandmaster Cass. He came to him and asked him, I need help with rap, blah blah blah. And so anyway, he stole from their lyrics, and that's the downside of just not making it to wax. Like you have people that steal your stuff, and to the mainstream audience that's just hearing Rapper's Delight for the first time, they're like, wow, this is great, this is amazing, I never heard anything like this before. But like, how are you supposed to go and say that's my lyric? But the mainstream doesn't care, they just care about what's out, and rap was getting commercialized. And then you had Rodney Dangerfield coming out with a rap song. All these ridiculous.
What's it called? I Can't Get No Respect.
Yeah, and you had all this ridiculous stuff coming out.
Even Joe Pesci had a rap album.
Yeah, see, you had stuff like that, and like one guy was saying rap was about to go into like a fad, like a decline. And then you had
yeah. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But that just proves your point, though, on what P. Diddy was doing after the death of Biggie and everything. It went into the fashion stuff. If you think about it. And that's where everybody was criticizing him about, was the fact that, hey, look, it went from being gangster. Then, I understand there was some darkness and everything too, especially when you look at the gangster rap stuff, the outlook with Suge. Then, of course, with Death Row Records, having Crips inside their whole entire system and things like that. And that was pretty much the end of Death Row Records after that happened. And, and I can understand P. Diddy's point of view is like, okay, there's been so much darkness. We need to lighten it up a little bit, because this is what Biggie would probably have wanted.
Yeah.
Is the fact that we need some lightness in that darkness. And then next thing you know, after that Faith Evans song, in matter of fact, that's actually one of my favorite songs with P. Diddy and them is I'll Be Missing You. Yeah. Is one of my favorite songs. And it's actually, the original one is Everywhere I Look, I'm Watching You by the Police.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of my favorite songs from both artists. But, I understand where he was going with that. And I actually love that whole entire lightness to P. Diddy. But at the same time, he was also getting ridiculed because of the whole entire fashion statement.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point too. Just you start to see all these stages of rap. that rap has or hip hop has gone through. Um, you know, like going back to like the fads and everything else. And then Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five put out the message, and like rap was kind of getting to like a party stage.
Yep.
The eight like 70s into 80s, and then when they put out the message, he was just talking about like you know, a child is born without a state of mind, and broken glass everywhere, people pissing in the roads, and they just don't care. I paraphrase that, sorry for all the hip hop heads. But yeah, he was just talking about the reality. And that reality that put into that put another paradigm, like another shift. Like, okay, rap can be about reality and what you see, right? And
Right.
just hopping back to what you were talking about, because I know we only have 2 hours, or we're getting through it, and we can't, of course, get everything in, but it's so good. It's such a good
You know
documentary.
what though? We might actually split this up though, to be honest with you, because how much I love this. I love talking about music. That's actually one of my other passions aside from movies.
Oh yeah,
Music
oh
has
yeah.
always been my passion though too.
I
So
haven't talked
we can
about music
always,
in a long time.
to be honest with you, we can always do another evolution of hip hop.
Yes, please and thank
Sessions. This is
you.
not gonna, yes, because this is not going to be our first one. I want to do many more of these
Yeah.
until we get down to finish with season 4.
Oh
To be
yeah,
honest with you,
definitely.
so don't feel like that we're pushing for time or whatever and
See
things like
me
that
talking
because
fast.
we're
I'm
going to
like,
be
oh my God, let me just get all this stuff out my chest.
no no. I want you to reserve yourself a little bit until we do the next one because seriously, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of meat here that I want to actually eat. So
Mhm. Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? I don't want to just like overfill myself with the buffet, you know? I don't want
yeah,
to just scorch myself with it.
yeah,
But there's
yeah. Go ahead.
but you know, one of my favorite things, and I have to own up to this though. I can't stop, won't stop. That's actually one of my favorite lyrics though in that song. To be honest with you, because of the fact what I do, what anybody does who has a dream or passion is the fact that, you know, you gotta go on ahead, you gotta scrap with everybody else that is in that community, whatever you're doing and passionate about. You have to scrap through every single person to make yourself known and make yourself fully out there and
Hmm.
everything. For me, can't stop, don't stop. For me, it means keep on doing what I'm doing, pushing myself even further, have passion with what I'm doing, and have care about what I'm doing and everything, and focus on the prize at the end of the road.
Yeah.
And I love that line. I've always loved that line since I first heard the song back in the and early 2000s
Oh
and
yeah.
everything.
Yeah. P Diddy was a sample king, and going back to the, because this goes back to the foundation and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. I know he sampled the message for, I think, that song that you're talking about. Oh, you're on mute.
There we go. But no, I do believe that Grandmaster Flash did give him the okay with it and everything too, and did sample it.
Yeah, that's another interesting point. Some of these rappers were sued for all the sampling that they did. And I was like, when are they going to get sued? And then it came like in the 80s.
Yep.
And they're like, oh crap, I guess we're going to get sued now. But it was some good beats. And I was like, yeah, these are some good beats. All right. And then it's like they didn't just sample from hip hop. I Well, I like the fact that they sample outside of hip hop. You know, like I think I want to say it was De La Soul or somebody sampled from the Turtles, and I guess that was a '60s band. But yeah,
Yeah, that's like
yeah,
a '60s band, the Turtles, with "So Happy Together" was one of their songs.
yeah, they got sued. Um, so you have that stage of hip hop, but if we're going into like the West Coast, East Coast thing, um, I enjoy that they put both emphasis on Tupac and Biggie's foundations.
Me
You know,
too.
like Tupac, of course, he just came out his mother's womb raising hell because his mom was in the Black Panthers.
Right.
I think his dad was a Black Panther too, so it's like, hey, and he's a Gemini. Oh my God, sorry, Geminis, but he he just was raising hell, and I like the fact that um if like he was about to just be a leader of the Atlanta Black Panthers if he didn't get a record deal, and it was Digital Underground that came in and somebody asked them, can this guy got a lot of talent? Can you just take him on the road with you? And I like Tupac's humbleness. He was like, I'll do anything. I clean up. I'll be the what do you call those people? No, the people that carry equipment and all the other stuff is escaping me. Yeah, yeah, those,
Brody?
yeah. He was pretty much their roadie. So yeah, he came from those humble beginnings. Um, yeah, and just in the early albums that Tupac had, like Tupacalypse and all the other albums, he seemed like more of a conscious rapper. Like Brenda Got a Baby. And he was just digging into the female psyche of a teenage pregnant girl and what she's gonna do with the baby. And I those lyrics are still chilling, you know. Um this teenage pregnancy and then he was in movies and then you have Above the Rim and he was just like kind of rising slowly
Right.
to the top and and then he made that shift after he got shot a couple times. he got
After he got
something was always going on with him. It's like there was no way he could have survived. Like he got shot in the head.
right.
And then there was that misunderstanding
Right. And
at the studio, right?
yeah, there was a big misunderstanding because of the fact that don't forget, Tupac also got arrested. So he too.
Oh
He
yeah,
was
rape
incarcerated.
charge. Yeah.
It was rape charges. It was not looking good for
Beat up
Tupac
by
at
the
all.
police.
Right. And then he comes out of the gate swinging, ready for vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, you have Biggie who's going on ahead and made up a album that was wasn't based off of that because Biggie had no clue that this was going to even happen or anything like that. Remember?
Yeah.
And it was a big, huge misunderstanding. It's just the timing was bad.
Yeah, they were saying back then it took records a lot longer to come out. And when Biggie did that, Who Shot Ya?
Yeah.
Did that before the shooting at the studio with Tupac. And after that shooting came out, it was just bad timing. That song Who Shot Ya came out. And that's what fueled all the rumors. Like, oh, maybe Biggie had Tupac shot. And the real in Lil C's, they interviewed him and he was in the studio and some other people who were there cleared it up and they were just saying that there was just some random robbery and Little C's was in there and I think Tupac came because he was trying to get paid for something he did.
Yeah.
Biggie was up doing an album on like let's say the fourth floor of this big studio, right? And this group came in to just rob everybody, and they were robbing Tupac and beat him up. And then Lil C saw it, and then I guess they put Lil C's at gunpoint, like you didn't see nothing. And he went up to Biggie, and he was like, "Yo, they're beating up your boy Pac, because Tupac and Biggie were friends. Like he used to just hang around with the crew." And Biggie went downstairs. And I think by then that's when the police came and they were just like everybody under arrest and Tupac didn't know what was going on. And for some reason he was in the hospital and he got shot multiple times. And then that rape charge. So I think he went to jail. But then Biggie said that he couldn't really get in contact with Pac to say, what's going on and why are you angry? I would have found a way, like a carrier pigeon or something. Like I would have found a way to talk to my friend.
You know what? He needed to talk to Lawrence Fishburne from John Wick.
He needed to just make a phone call, but I guess he thought in his head Pac just being Pac, he'll cool down. I'm like, no, somebody like Tupac, like you do something to him and you don't sit down or try to reach out to him, he's gonna go from 0 to 10. He's gonna be
Yep.
like, oh, y'all
Exactly.
disrespecting me. Like
Because
that's
at that moment, Pac thought everybody was an enemy.
yeah, and then he had,
And
like you
everything.
said, he had that frustration when like the rape charge, he got shot, he got robbed, the police, and he has the blood of a Black Panther because his
Right.
mom was a black. He's just born angry.
Right. That sounds like a good movie, though. Boy.
Born angry. Tupac story. Just
but
angry.
but you know what though? I mean, I can't blame Tupac for being angry because he
Yeah.
doesn't know what's going on or anything like that. But I feel like Biggie should have reached out to him a lot sooner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Like even if like the record people like, just let Pop calm down and let's just do this. I'd be like, no, no, no. Let me just talk to my friend because I know
right.
how he is. He crazy.
Crazy. But you know what though? You know how we talked about the West Coast and East Coast not getting along? We've seen these two people from two different streets getting along. Two opposite of the spectrum getting along. I'm going to say this. I think Suge might have had something to do with it. Because you have two people of the opposite ends getting along. He's caused some type of...
I ain't gonna have Suge Knight come after me. My name's Teresa.
But this is just me speculating, okay? There's no proof or whatever. This is me speculating.
Yeah, he did it.
But I feel like he did. I mean, think about it though. There was division because of what happened. There's division amongst them now, and now that he's got them divided, he's now focusing more on Tupac, and then he's like Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos, just aggravating it, trying to egg it on the war. Just trying to egg on the war, man. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but also like when NWA came out, there was already this East Coast, West Coast thing, but it was brewing under the surface for years and it didn't come to a head until Tupac Biggie.
True.
And the infamous Source Awards where Suge Knight just had to get on stage and be like, yo, if you want to be part of my record label and you don't want a producer all up in your album, dancing in your album and your video, looking at you, Puff. He might as well say that.
Right, exactly.
On the death row. And then I'm like, what is he thinking? What is he doing? And then the crowd.
He's thinking along. He's not thinking. All he's thinking of is a line of a gangster. If you think about it, it's like. But not only that, but I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, you're just. Here's the thing, you just ended up doing something that you said that you don't do, is accept other outsiders that haven't picked up a gun or anything. So now all of a sudden, now you were thinking about maybe possibly accepting them in. That's what I was thinking.
Oh yeah.
Because so I'm thinking he's thinking, okay, well, Puff is doing it. Maybe he might actually benefit me too now. So therefore, I'm going to be like Puff because it's actually working for him. And that's just me speculating. I don't know if you got the same concept or whatever, but that's the way my mind was thinking, that maybe he was trying to be like Puff at that time, where he's now trying to accept people, other outsiders in that could probably bring up the game a lot more. I don't know. That's just me.
I think you're just starting shit. Like he's a shit starter. Like he probably saw like because he's the one that bailed Tupac out of jail. Tupac was still in jail for those rape charges. And he probably heard what happened to Pac and talked to Tupac and heard Tupac, like, I don't know who did this to him. Maybe him or somebody else put in Tupac's head. It probably was your boy Biggie because he ain't talked to you. So he probably did it. And Pac, Pac, he's like, yo, that's probably he's
I can see the look on Pac's face. It's like, whoa, you were right, man.
No, and I wish Tupac would have reached out to Biggie too. Like, you can get calls and be like, Biggie, what's up? Like, I did you do this or not? Like, I wish they would have learning about what really happened now, like years later, I wish they would have communicated with each other because they
Right.
were friends, right? I wish they would have
Right.
said, "Did you do this?" Like the lack of communication is what killed both of them, from my point of view. Just if you would have squashed that, what happened at the studio, there wouldn't have been like these East Coast, West Coast. Plus, Vibe magazine is to blame too, with the
They're
magazine
amping it
was
up
like
even more. They're
West
rubbing that.
Coast versus East Coast. Like it, if but yeah, if it was just Biggie and Tupac talking to each other, like trying to clear the air and not having these people in their head, and all these other factors, I think they both would have been alive.
Right. And I feel like Snoop was trying to calm the air a little bit, though.
No, he
No,
wasn't.
no.
He was angry. He was an angry young
I just
man.
want to get a little bit of a rise
That
from
was
him.
before he got the good weed. Now he's very calm Uncle Snoop. But he didn't have that good weed because he's just still an angry young man. Because
That's
he
very
got
true.
up and he was like Snoop was saying, because Snoop's in this too, of course, because he's part of this beef. So he was saying after what like Suge said that, and then they won for the Chronic, right? Him and
Yeah, it was
Dr.
the chronic.
Dre, and he was just pissed. And like he was hearing all these boo, he probably was hearing all this stuff like West Coast and shit, blah blah blah. And he got up on stage, and Dre was about to sell, and he was like, "Y'all ain't got no love for the West Coast. What fuck y'all then?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, come on."
Don't forget, there were 25-year-old guys with a lot of
Yeah, they were young, and
high,
Snoop,
high strong
Snoop used to be a
energy.
Crip or Blood or whatever he was.
He
So
was a Crip, I believe, because yeah, he was a Crip.
yeah, he was young, and he wasn't on that like good weed like he is now.
I don't
So
know. Whenever he's talking about sports, though, he gets angry. You do not want to see Snoop Dogg when he's angry, especially
yeah,
when you say
rather
"cuz." You might as well whenever he says "cuz," you might as well just go ahead and lay down on the floor dead because that'll
but
be it.
I'd rather see him argue about
Me
sports.
too.
He's
I
just an
don't want to
angry,
die over it though. I
he's
don't
just
want
an
to die.
angry old man that that the weed didn't kick in yet. So that's the difference between Snoop now and Snoop then.
Right.
Plus the perm, he don't have the perm
That's
anymore.
another thing though that the East Coast didn't like was the fact that they all had Jerry curls
Yeah,
because
that's what
that's the
Ice
video that I
Cube.
was. Yeah.
Ice Cube said maybe they just didn't like it because we came up with Jerry curls.
Right, because remember there was like a line in one of the songs where the rapper is just standing in front of Ice Cube, talking about his Jerry curls.
Oh yeah, whatever that rapper name was, he set off that whole like that was in like the 80s when NWA was coming
Yep.
out, and then he was doing this parody rap like, what y'all gotta be angry for? Y'all live on the beach and Jerry Curl motherfucker, da da da,
Mhm.
just stuff like that. I was like, what in the
Whoa,
world is
he's
going
just
on?
snapping on the dude.
Yeah, I'm like, both
Right,
of y'all come from areas that are like that poverty stricken. Like there's room for East and West Coast. But with the Tupac and Biggie thing, that just set it all off right there. And then all the hype and everybody else. I think it was just everyone else's war, and they just put it on their shoulders. Like,
right.
you represent all of us. No, and maybe there was a time, and I'm speculating, maybe they were like, I wish I could reach out to Tupac. I wish I could reach out to Biggie. But this is so far down the line, maybe I shouldn't. And maybe my friends are saying, don't do it. But
Well,
I
that
wish
too.
they would have just reached out to each other, like I said.
Right, and then also too, the stuff was still fresh.
Oh yeah.
And then a couple of months later, Tupac winds up dying, and then 6 months later, that's when Biggie wanted to try to unite everybody. Which it was like the person that they were interviewing is like, hey, look, man, this is if he was his manager or whatever, he would have probably if the manager was actually thinking, hey, look, man, this is not probably the best time to go about going to the place that you actually want to try and unite anybody. This is still fresh in everybody's mind. They still think that that you had something to do with the shooting, with Tupac, with his death and everything. This is not the time to go about doing it. So his manager should have actually stepped up and say, "Hey, look, I understand what you're trying to do. We appreciate what you're trying to do, but right now it's not the right time, man. You're going into the lion's den. You may not come out of this thing."
Yeah, yeah. I think somebody, and I don't know what his relation is to Biggie. He was saying like maybe it's not a good time, and he was like, I'm from New York. If you got beef with somebody around the corner, you don't go around the corner. You squash the beef first, like or something like that. He put it. But yeah, it was too soon because
Mhm.
Biggie was trying to promote, I think, Life After Death, that album. But it was way too soon for him to just go to California and try to promote it after Tupac. Because, like he
Exactly.
was saying, he just, I guess he thought, okay, Tupac's gone, I'm really sad, but, maybe the air is clear enough. And I feel like I can go. Because if I don't go to Cali, then maybe there won't be an opportunity for me to squash this beef. But he
Definitely.
should have waited. It just, oh man, it was, yeah, that was messed up. Like, because
Definitely.
when I first heard Tupac die, I was in middle school, and I was just crying. I was like, man, Tupac's died, and what I'm gonna do? I feel like there's a hole in my soul, because I love Tupac. And then I found out Biggie died. And I was like, man, okay, like, because I was on the West Coast, but I was on the East Coast.
You see, I like both. I was always the one who liked both.
Well, now
Um,
I like both, John, and I'm older. Like now, I'm sad that Biggie's gone. But when I
right.
was a kid, I was like, I don't care about him dying. I care about Tupac dying. You know?
Right. Okay. I gotcha. You see,
Yeah.
with me on the other hand, I don't know. I guess I was different. I
Mhm.
like both of them because I like listen to two different aspects from the different roles that they came in and
Yeah.
everything, and try to learn from both sides and everything.
I wish
Because
they both would have done an album together.
that would have been, you know what? You would think with them being close as they were, it's like, hey man, I know our two styles are too different and everything, but let's try to do a collaboration together. Let's see what that would sound like. Because I could just imagine the beats would actually be off the chain because of the fact that you have a
Mhm.
West Coast beat mixed in with the hard edge in your face New York beat.
Oh yeah.
That thing would have added in a lot of flavor to it, to be
Oh
honest with
man,
you.
that would have been awesome. Yeah, I like the fact too that people like Tupac is alive, but Biggie isn't. I was like, well, wait a minute. You can't have
Without the other.
Biggie's dead.
It's like salt and pepper. You actually have to have both,
Tupac making albums still. I'm like, well, according to people, he was a workaholic. He got
Right.
like
But
millions of songs that are just coming out.
exactly. And I know that we're all an hour into this and everything now, and we're probably going to end up ending it soon. But
Yeah.
I do want to add in the fact, though, Biggie's the one who found Little Kim.
Oh yeah.
And, whenever I first heard Little Kim and everything, she just comes out slinging like a dude. And I'm like, okay, what, ladies? Everything that you said that was just went on ahead and degraded women and everything else. You might as well just go on ahead and forget about all that now because now you have a woman doing it
Hmm.
and everything. And that's exactly what that ended up happening. So basically, now you actually have women that can actually support another woman
Oh
in
yeah.
their hip hop culture and everything. And it's
Yeah.
not just men that are saying this; it's women that are saying it. And matter of fact, women are more descriptive with certain things than guys are, and
Yeah. You can see
everything with
the
details.
little Kim influence, like with Cardi B and
Hmm.
Megan Thee Stallion and Dojo the Cat and all these other female rappers. Like you can see that hardcoreness that they have. But Little Kim is the top, and
Hmm.
she always will be the boss of all the female rappers that were after her. Like before her, you got Queen Latifah, Money Love,
Yep.
MC. you know,
And none of the
women.
female artists even top that,
Yeah,
to be
they
honest
called it
with
out female empowerment, but in a different way. They didn't get into like the sexuality. Like Little Kim, like Puff Daddy said, and that's the way he described it is accurate. He said Little Kim is the type where she would put an apple in a guy's mouth and then tie him up and then spank him. I was like, yeah,
you.
that's
Yep,
Little Kim. That's
that's a
accurate.
good that's a
Yeah,
good analogy.
that's a good analogy. And the guy would say, more, please. Right.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
yeah. I mean, women love Little Kim because they were saying, like, in the documentary, she would say stuff we would think. But, with the whole, and there was nobody like her at the time. So you can imagine what she was getting, like, backlash from some people.
Unless
Like,
Missy
you're too
Elliott.
raunchy. That's not ladylike. Women aren't supposed to do that. But
Right.
to survive in this game, she had to be raunchy where, yeah, I'm sexual, but I'll shank you, you know.
Right. Exactly. So let's see here. I think that's everything that I wanted to cover within the hip hop evolution. I do
Yeah.
want you to come back again so that way we
Okay.
can do season 2, which is Pass the Mic, which is actually part of the where Eminem came from, that part of the neck of the woods with that, with freestyling, because I always liked freestyle battling though. So I love that. So I
Okay.
would like to actually, I would love for us to just keep continue doing the hip hop evolution stuff. To be honest with
Okay. Good. Yeah, because I was like, let me just squeeze a little bit
you,
more.
no, we
Like,
don't have to.
like the toothpaste where you don't got that much left, but you squeeze from the bottom. That's how I was doing this whole thing.
No,
Let me squeeze from the bottom.
no,
Okay.
we're gonna do a little bit of squeezing, and then after that, we're gonna go and brush our teeth again for the next
Okay.
one. So
So
that's
I
what
can
we're
throw away that toothpaste, right? I can just
right.
get a
That
new.
toothpaste is no
Okay.
good. Go
Thank
ready, go pack in season 2 toothpaste, not season
Okay,
1
thank you. I
toothpaste.
will. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Completely. One love.
All right. So with that being said, guys, that's the end of the show for tonight for our hip hop evolution. I do want to make something clear real quick. I know it was supposed to be on Mount Schmodown today. I had some stuff that came up. I couldn't be on it, unfortunately. But I'll be on there next Saturday, and it'll be at 3 o'clock Central Time. Like I said, 4 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific Time for that. So make sure you go on ahead, visit Schmoes of the North. So that way you guys can actually catch me on that. If you love the Schmodown, if you don't know what the Schmodown is, it's the movie a trivia show that's basically in the wrestling style format of everything. You have your Inner Geekdom championships. You also have your Star Wars championships. You have different championships for different things. So go ahead, check out the Schmodown, and then also too check out Schmoes of the North over there where Frenchie is. They do a lot of things. A matter of fact, we're actually doing our Mighty Ducks game changer reviews and everything else over there too, and it's also getting converted to over here at the same
That's cool.
time. So we're doing an after show for the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. So check that out on Mondays and everything at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, and of course 6 o'clock Pacific Time. So tomorrow night, Charlie and I are going to be doing it's just called Bad Ride, and it's actually a Netflix movie, and this is a movie that I just checked out recently over the weekend. I ended up liking it. I laughed my ass off the whole entire time. It's called Bad Trip, not Bad Ride.
True. Okay.
Yeah, Bad Trip. So that's actually one of the movies that I wound up laughing my ass off on from start to finish. So with that being said, if you guys want to, go ahead and donate to the show if you guys want to. If you guys can't do it, I totally understand. But how do you do that? You're just going ahead, go to www.gofundme.com/Movie Lovers Podcast for that. And then, of course, you can go on ahead and visit us at www.movieloversnight.com for all your inhuman needs and wants. Of course, you can go on ahead, go to Facebook at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Night over there. Underneath the same brand as well on Instagram and also on Pinterest. Of course, you can get this episode on where you guys get your audio only podcast at. And then, of course, you can also follow me on Movie Lovers Unit over there. And then, of course, you can follow me at Movie Lovers Unit on Stereo. We do shows over there as well. Right now, we're taking a little bit of break and just doing YouTube videos and things like that. So stay tuned through the YouTube channel and also Facebook for more further updates. Then, of course, if you guys want to get in touch with me, what do? You just go on ahead and email me at movieloversunite@gmail.com. And that's everywhere that you can actually find me at and how to get in touch with me. It's been real, guys. It's been fun. I can't wait to do this again. And always until next time, thank you, Tomeka. I do appreciate you being on.
Oh,
And
before you go, John, we gotta show our shirts.
oh yeah, this is my Eminem t-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm rapping.
Ooh, this is my Tupac t-shirt from Poetic Justice. Tupac forever. Okay.
That is just awesome, though.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So
you.
you're very welcome. And you can find this t-shirt, the Eminem t-shirt, at Hot Topic, and that's where you can
I
find it.
think I got mine from Amazon.
Okay. And you can also find Tomeka's shirt over at Amazon.
Or Hot Topic.
Or Hot Topic. So anyways, guys, like I said, it's been real. It's been fun. I can't wait to do this again. And thanks again, Tomeka, for being on.
Yes.
Bye-bye.